Welcome to the Criterion Cult. I am your host of the four hosts, Jordan. We got Diego, we got Nacho, and we got Mondo.
What's up?
And if you guys don't know what this podcast is, basically we talk about and discuss a movie that is on the Criterion Collection. And if you don't know what the Criterion Collection is, it's a company that restores all kinds of different films from all different countries and different
Around the world,
from different time, from different, from old films to new films. They restore films that they believe are important and matter to the film culture in a way. And so we review films that are already in the Criterion Collection, but every episode, each one of us brings a film that we believe should be in the Criterion Collection, and the other three vote whether it should be or not, because we are the gatekeepers and Criterion pays us to make sure that these movies go in or not. And, it's a big deal. And, there's a lot of weight on us and we're doing it right. And today, Nacho, he brought to us some of that Lars Von Trier, Adolf Hitler apologist, some of that good stuff. He brought us Antichrist, which is already on the collection. And then later, we're going to be talking about Melancholia, which is also a Von Trier film, which he believes should be on the collection. But first, fellas, we're going to go into Antichrist, which is, that's a lot to get into. Basically, so Antichrist is about this couple who their child dies. Their child dies in some horrible circumstances, absolutely horrible, in the worst possible way. And they basically are dealing with this grief. They go out to this cabin in the woods to kind of figure out if their marriage is going to survive, if this, what they're going to do with what just happened. Absolutely insane shit takes place. Literally, grief takes the form in all the worst ways imaginable. Literally. So I'm wondering, right off the bat, I'm just going to say, I'm a Lars Von Trier fan. I enjoy this stuff. It's not something I could watch all the time. This is literally the second time I've seen Antichrist, and I love Antichrist. I have a tattoo of Antichrist. But it's a movie that I just wouldn't want to watch again for obvious reasons, if you've seen it, as you guys know. There's just a lot of shit in there that's uncomfortable. It's hard to watch. And I'm wondering, so do any of you guys see this as so did you watch this movie and what was happening, what you saw? Did you see this as okay, there's a message here, there's something being said, or did you kind of see it as this is just violence and shit for the sake of it? It was just trying to shock you. It was, you know what I mean? What do you guys think? Nacho, since you picked it, I want to hear what you think first. You've obviously seen it before, right? You've seen both of these movies before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there's a message. It's just, I think it was just an artsy-fartsy way of displaying depression. Well, not only depression, grief, despair. That's kind of the chapters that they're going through,
Right.
Yes, the first time, I think actually you brought this film up to me a long time ago. I didn't realize this movie came out 11 years ago. It was in 2009.
Yeah.
And along with the other films, Melancholia is actually in 2011. I don't know, time flies, man. But yeah, man, first time watching it visually, it was really cool. It was super artsy, just the imagery, when they're in the forest, when they're having sex, and eventually, you see the bodies and stuff like that. Just those images, the fox, deer.
The bodies and the fox. Oh, yeah.
It was, and I was reading up that supposedly they had to train a fox to open its mouth. Although they did use some type of CG, on the face, they still had to train it to open its mouth on command so they can make that scene of chaos reigns look as legit as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, first time around watching it, that was fuck, that was cool. Just watching it disembowel itself, and it's funny because I don't know if I can recommend this movie to everyone. I think maybe watch it once, but I don't know if I told you guys, but I recommended this to a friend maybe a year or two ago, he was like, what should I watch on Netflix? I was like, Antichrist is still there. And like 2 minutes into it, he's like, did you just send me a porno, bro? Like, you know, people are not familiar with this. I mean,
yes, let's talk about that
people...
opening scene. Let's talk about how they throw you into this movie, right? So you start off, it's slow motion. You got this beautiful music. Fuck, I looked up what the song was, but it's just a beautiful song, right? I think it's, fuck, what was the name of it? Never mind. But so you've got this beautiful song going on, and then you're just like, you're seeing something that you're not really sure what it is at first, right? It's kind of like, and then you just realize you're like, oh, okay, it's William Dafoe's penis going into Charlotte Gainsbourg's vagina from a bottom view in the shower. And there's drips of water.
Dutch angle bottom.
Yes, Dutch angle bottom in the worst, best possible way. And then you've got, and then you're seeing the baby climb out of the crib, slow motion. It goes to the windowsill, and then they're just banging. It's still going on. You know, you're still seeing Defoe's dick go in and out, in and out, in and out, and you're feeling it. You're understanding it. You're really getting his motivation. But then the baby starts just falling out the window. And so I remember the first time I watched this movie, I was like, oh shit. I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, this is what, like, I literally saw that and I was like, oh, there's no way that this is going to be like a movie that I'm going to enjoy watching. Like, you know, but it's going to be good. You know what I'm saying? Because that whole first scene is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's like, it could just be misconstrued as like for shock value and just to like piss you off, right? Two parents fucking in the shower and then their baby just falls out a window in slow motion while some beautiful music is playing. That could like, yeah, come off as like shock value. But
What do you think
to
it's
me,
amazing?
You shocked Diego. Look, you made him leave, bro.
because
No.
it's literally like, it's like that. Literally, the whole movie is about that contrast of like literally every time they try to make love, which produces life, literally life gets taken away.
Yeah.
And I just think that's
Like
like
something
a cool,
goes bad. Yeah.
I think that's like a very cool contrast. You know what I mean? Like to have, like, especially for the start of a film. Like, you know, you're going into a film, you know, what the description of it is of this movie is not what this movie is about. It says, oh,
Right.
you know, a couple deals with the grief of their lost child. That's, I mean, yes, that's what it's about, but that's not what you're watching. I mean, you're literally watching like grief and depression like manifest itself into like the worst possible things for these people. You know what I mean?
I've seen one label. They labeled it experimental erotic psychological horror film. Also,
I mean, that makes sense.
A sadomasochist film.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. All those are absolutely true for this movie. Like, and
I forgot how intense the genital mutilation scenes were. I was like, oh shit! Like they actually like zoom in. I was reading into them getting the prosthetics for those scenes.
I read there was no prosthetics used in this film. It was all natural.
Oh man!
I actually used the fox penis for the mutilation scene. He was down for whatever. I read in the IMDb. The fox was just like, you know, rip me up, cut me up, shut me up, whatever. So I'm taking a drink for that fox. Honestly, I mean, this movie is that fox. I mean, because that's what it is, literally. When his wife is pretty much leaves, like they've literally been trying to keep together through a bunch of horrible madness. And then at the end, right? Not the end, but she pretty much like kind of is leaving him, kind of bouncing from him. And that's when he just walks out into the woods and sees a fox. It just tells him, he's just like, hey man, chaos reigns, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're worried about shit. Like, shit's just going to crack and it's going to be horrible. Like, chaos reigns. Like, I'm eating myself right now. Like, it's just going to be awful. Like, what are you doing, Defoe? Like, come on. And that's what I really liked about this movie, where it was just, I don't think it really is saying anything but that like, there's, you know, there's just madness all around. Like, there's no, like, you know what I mean? Like, your kid's going to fall out of the fucking window. Like, you know what I mean? Like, things are just, like, it's just awful and chaos. There's no, it's not good or bad. It's just chaos. And I think that's why it's called the Antichrist. I think that's why it's called that, Antichrist. You know what I mean? Because it's like that message to where, like, you know, it could have been any other circumstance these people dealing with, whether it's, you know, their child dying or whatever, but it doesn't matter because chaos reigns, and there's no, whether you're good or bad, you roll the dice. It's just you're living in hell regardless. And I don't know, I just really resonated with that message. Mono, you don't seem to be down with that.
Well, I mean,
He wasn't wearing a condom. It's not safe.
What do you think of this? What do you think, Mondo? What do you think of this? What do you think of Antichrist?
honestly, I don't know what to think of this movie. It was just kind of like,
How'd you like the foe's dick?
it was fine. That was the only.
It was good, right? Anyway, what do you think?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what to think of this movie, because I watched Melancholia first, and it was, honestly, I felt like they were the same film, you know, just
Same theme, but
you know, like it was pretty much the same film, but I mean, one was a lot more grotesque and like shit like that or whatever. But I really don't know what to say about this film. It's just like, I get it, like they're depressed, like it's manifesting and all around them. They're trying to stay, like, that's how crazy how they're trying to stay together. Because I broke up with someone for less than that.
yeah.
You didn't wait for them to mutilate your genitals before you left them?
I thought he was leaving, and she was leaving.
Well, because he's a psychiatrist, so he's like trying to, like, you know,
but yeah,
like
that's
trying to like
that's
figure, you know,
bad, you know.
yeah, it's making it worse.
Yeah.
It's literally making it worse.
Well, you know, she says when because the doctor's trying to prescribe her medication, right? And then he's a therapist, and he's trying to go again. Even the doctor says, and I've heard this before, like in other movies, maybe, because I've never gone to
Side effects. You heard it in side effects.
That you shouldn't like your husband or someone that close to you shouldn't be your therapist.
Right. It's
conflict of interest, you know.
Conflict of interest, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because they could like fuck with you in a way.
Yeah.
And also, it seems like
they're
like she keeps reiterating the fact that he thinks he's smarter than everyone, you know. So he's gonna try, especially because he says he knows her so well. Like he says, like, who else is gonna treat you? I mean, I know you better than anyone else. Why would anyone else step in if I know exactly how you are? So I'm gonna do my best, and I'm gonna cure you, you know, so to speak. Like, I'm gonna take it into my hands. I'm gonna fix you because I'm better than everyone else, on top of the fact that I already know so much about you.
And that is very much, and don't get me wrong, as much as I enjoy his films, that is very much Lars Von Trier being like, that's me. Like, I'm the smart man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's his, like, surrogate for, like, the movies. Like, that's what, like, the house that Jack built, that's what that is. It's, like, his, like, musings of, like, oh, poetic, and this is murder, and blah, blah. Like, he's trying to, like, oh, this is me. Like, I am a tortured artist who sometimes sex and violence is what I, you know, like, that's how I express myself. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I can see that pretentiousness. I can see that sort of like, because he's Danish. I could see that fucking, like, that fucking white boy Danish shit cracking. You know what I mean? Like that, like, oh,
that's how I felt with this film. Was like, it was
for sure
too artsy for like no reason, kind of.
I can totally see that. But I think for me, it really sort of like all that stuff that he does, it really sort of like, I was kind of like, okay, I get what you're saying. Not all the time, but I don't know, it's just like cool imagery. Like the way he films shit, I just love his style. Like his filming style is really good. Like, especially once we talk about Melancholia later, that kind of like where he's able to get like really dope, like fucking beautiful shots, but still kind of have like a shaky
the super
cam.
slow-mo is what that looks
do you guys
awesome.
Do you guys
like,
feel
that
like
looks so cool?
Do you guys feel like that looks like a painting, like he's imitating like a painting, like a water painting? Because
100%.
I mean, we'll get into Melancholia later, but I was kind of looking at certain shots. Yeah, I was looking at shots.
Yeah.
And they compare them to like, you know, like old, like, you know, old paintings, and they match up pretty perfectly.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, Melancholia is pretty much based, like he pretty much was inspired by paintings that she like, when she puts up all the books I mean, we'll get to that later. But Antichrist though still does look like that. I agree.
Yes.
I mean, that's why I enjoy it, because I mean, even that whole scene where he sees the fox. I mean, that whole scene could be a fucking absolute joke. It could be an absolute joke. No one could take that scene seriously. Like, that's literally towards the end of the film they do that shit.
Yeah.
And like the confidence that's done behind a fox telling William Dafoe in slow motion, we just like, you know, like
chaos
backing
reigns.
up, all like, you know what I mean? And then the fox is just like, chaos reigns. Like, that could have been like laughable. It could have been like, you know, you could have been like, oh my God, I watched this whole movie for this. But
That was
right
Defoe's
there,
voice too.
it was the what?
Defoe's
Oh, really?
Chaos Reigns.
Oh, yeah. That makes
Well,
sense.
obviously they changed it up.
Dub it.
That was
Right. Yeah. But he's the one who said it. That makes sense. Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it works perfectly for me. Like, you know, like I got to that point in the movie and I was like, yeah, I'm on board for this, you know. But I get it. I totally get where you're coming from, Mondo, where it can, like, it is very pretentious, and that he is.
Yeah, I did
that.
look at those shots though. Yeah, it looked like something like out of like a fashion magazine, you know, like Vogue. Or
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Or, you know, super
Like whatever camera he uses.
like that.
Yeah, whatever camera he uses to do those specific shots, like they make it's beautiful. Like fucking chef's kiss to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially like the images you guys have in your background. That thing where they're like having sex on
With
the tree and,
and the
arms.
hands. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'm
Like,
telling you,
that's like a
that's
painting.
what caught me first. I mean, well, first it was his penis, and then just the rest of the imagery. You know, like it was
Yeah.
it's like I'm telling you, that super slow mo camp, like that effect that he uses just looks so cool. Like, you know, with the baby moving, the water dripping, like stuff like that. And again, we're gonna talk about that in Melancholia because it's something that he uses in there as well. But yeah, dude, it's just, I don't know. I like that shot, and I like the music that he uses as well. You know, that operatic. I don't know how you say what word is correct, but yeah, I don't know. Mondo, you were saying how like
there was something
you're comparing to Melancholia, but he wasn't a depressed. I guess he was hospitalized for depression when he was writing Antichrist. And he was also in an episode of that while doing Melancholia, talking about we could finally talk about an unofficial trilogy. Yes, he has an unofficial like depression trilogy, which is Antichrist, Melancholia, and then Nymphomaniac, which I'm not sure if you guys have seen yet. But
Nymphomaniac is 2 movies, so I don't know how that's a trilogy.
Well, two parts. One movie, two parts.
Don't fuck with me right now. Don't talk about no crime trilogies. Just kidding. No, you're right. That because he also has a crime. He actually has a crime trilogy. You guys know
he
that.
does.
He does. I know one of them is called The Element of Crime. I can't remember the other ones, but I need to watch them. I think Element of Crime is on Criterion. But I mean, like, so Mondo.
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
There's one thing. So how you were talking about how the house that Jack built and how he's saying he's the best and stuff, and like this, it didn't happen in Antichrist, but it happened in Melancholia, where I was watching it, and it kind of reminded me of Kubrick, sort of, you know? I don't know why, it just, like, came up. I think because of the slow motion in the beginning, and, like, the planet, like, you know, kind of, like, doing that dance, like, how they do in 2001, where it's just kind of, like, it's, like, a procedural thing when the ship is docking and stuff, and then the scene of Melancholia, where the planets are kind of, like, you know, moving, or one
into each other,
and playing the classical music, and then even later,
it is very much Kubrick for sure.
Kristen Dunst, she's like, when her sister's telling her, oh yeah, she wants to meet on the terrace and like have a glass of wine, blah blah. Oh, what do you want? And you want to listen to music? What do you want to listen to? Beethoven's Ninth, where like he's almost like poking fun at Kubrick, you know, because he uses like Beethoven's Ninth and stuff, and like all that. Like it's kind of like a jab, like saying he's better, maybe, or I don't know.
Well, I mean, because Kristen Dunst follows that up with saying, "I think your idea is shit." Like,
yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
she's making fun of it. Like she's saying, "Oh, you know, Beethoven's the ninth, like or something like this. Like make it all like I don't know, just like romantic or like I don't know something."
I mean, that's possible. I mean, for sure. Like, I mean, he is like pretentious in that way
So,
that
like,
he would do something like that.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of him. I think.
But let's talk about Antichrist, though.
So
I mean,
Antichrist. So Antichrist, this story, I think he stole it from Eric Clapton's life.
For sure. That's probably. I mean, I'm sure you could probably.
You
I'm
know
sure
what?
that's not like a surprise. Yes, because the same thing. The baby.
Because
fell
his
out the
baby,
window.
Was
his
Clapton
kids fell
having
off.
sex with Defoe while their baby fell out?
I don't know.
Defoe and Clapton were dating when the baby fell
We
out.
should call this movie Tears in Heaven.
But so yes, he probably did take that. But I mean, saying like for me, I think that's like dope when like filmmakers are able to like show depression and like sadness and grief in like a crazy way, like the way that they are showing it in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's pretty extreme, it's pretty intense,
It's very extreme.
but I mean, I think that's that's kind of how you feel when
drink a Mountain Dew.
like that's how you feel when you're depressed or whatever the fuck, especially if your kid dies. I mean, I wouldn't know, but I imagine that it's probably crazy, and so it makes sense. But I get it, so
No, I can only imagine like like your child dying, falling out a window, or something, like any tragic thing. Like it's kind of like you have this tunnel vision, and you're stuck in that moment, and like you're just thinking of all the things you could have done or didn't do, and like it's just regurgitating in your head and stuff. And do they like kind of like do they kind of like say that she saw the kid fall out?
That's what I was gonna bring that up. That I mean, was she really depressed though? Because they do show that she was looking while they were having sex. She saw that he was crawling up right there
and fall out pretty much.
She knew that he gets.
But she was trying to get her nut. Like she was, you know what I mean? She was like, oh, I want this to finish. You know what I mean?
Anti-nut is what they should have called it. But you're probably right. I mean, honestly, she probably was just fucked up. I mean, they're both probably just fucked up. Yeah. I mean, she saw it happening. She was like, "Oh, let it happen, so I could just be depressed and crazy."
Because he lost him once before.
So that's all, And again, that's also just Von Trier, just putting his shit on other things.
Do you think the baby's name was Chaos Reigns? I mean, I don't know if you guys caught it, but in the beginning, when he's crawling up on the step stool, there was these three figures, and these three figures said grief, pain, and despair.
Yeah.
And as he's crawling up, he's knocking all that shit out. Yeah. He falls down, he dies, and this is literally where we go. Into all this madness.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's Von Trier, baby, throwing you those fucking symbolism with the baby with the toys.
They don't even have names. I don't know if you guys noticed that. They're just he and she.
It's he and she and Nick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nick's the baby.
Yeah.
I thought Nick was the fox. That would have been. Nick should have been the fox.
No, that's he's a beggar. They're the three beggars.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure there's some sort of like. I'm just not smart enough to get like the. I'm sure there's some sort of like thing that you could read that this is like based on, or you know what I mean, like some sort of story or like
more.
analogy, or you know what I mean, like some sort of like maybe biblical thing or something that this is like sort of that you could like, you know what I mean, like
what she's
I'm just not smart enough.
What she's studying, like what her thesis is on like the violence against women throughout history or whatever. Yeah.
Right, because there is sort of like there like every now and then through the movie like a feminist kind of thing creeps in there.
Right.
Of. Like
that's where I'm going is with like the constellation that he looks at where he says like that constellation doesn't exist with the three beggars and all that. He says that doesn't exist, but that's in her book. And before it gets into like the more chaotic area, he does bring that up. Like she interpreted what she thought it meant, but really her thesis was supposed to prove it wrong. That's why he's kind of like, you kind of went against what you were supposed to be writing about. Like, you know, like, and so is she crazy, or is the grief making her even more so? You know what I mean?
Right. Was she before, or is like the grief? Like, yeah, is it the grief? Yeah, for sure. All right. Antichrist. There's a lot you can say about it, but there's not a lot you can say about it, depending on how you feel about it. So, we've talked about it. We got real down and bloody with it. We got chaos reigns with it. But let's get final thoughts.
Yeah, I forgot.
Because-
Are we rating our Criterion movie? Like,
Yeah, we have been.
we have been, right? Okay.
Yeah, we have been.
Okay.
See, you got all mad at me last time because I asked the same question. We have been. God damn it.
All right, final thoughts.
Nacho, you picked it. What's your rating? What's your final thoughts? You fuck.
Ooh. So, I don't know. I'm a big fan of this artsy-fartsy visual film of depression and chaos and unsimulated sex scenes and genital mutilation. And no, I'm not a fan of all that. It's kind of crazy. But overall, I don't know. This movie's cool, man. It's just dark. The imagery's cool. I say people need to see it at least once, but know that you will see unsimulated sex scenes and you will see genital mutilation. It is kind of intense. Don't think different of me for suggesting this movie, but watch it once. I'm gonna rate this movie. Ooh, I don't know, man. I'm still a fan of this movie after watching it. I'm gonna rate it four logs into Willem Dafoe's dick.
All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just imagine that fucking genital mutilation, but to the Pixies wave of mutilation. Genital mutilation. Just imagine that while you're watching the movie next time. That's all I gotta say. All right, Diego, what do you gotta say? What do you gotta say,
I don't know.
dog?
I don't know if I would recommend it to just anybody, but I would definitely recommend it to individuals who are
going for that low end.
Yeah, there's that.
He's trying to show us the Defoe sex.
Yeah, there's that Defoe scene shot.
What'd you call it, Mondo?
Definitely
the Dutch.
I forget, Dutch Anglo.
Hey, Diego's trying to say his last thoughts. Don't worry about how my
my bad. Sorry, Diego. Sorry.
No, so I wouldn't recommend it to just anybody. I would definitely pick and choose who would probably sit through and watch it. But like you guys stated, Lars has a way of shooting that makes everything look pretty. So there is some beautiful shots in his films that I think you won't find in other films. And just solely on the basis of that is worth visually looking into. I enjoy this film. The first time I watched it, I think I liked it a lot more than this time around. I still like the film, but I do see it a little bit differently than I did the first time around. Solely because of that, I docked it half a point, but I'm going to give it 3.5 crow caws.
All right.
So
You got 3.5 crow caws coming straight out of Defoe's dick. Mondo.
Yeah. All right. I thought I was a big
No.
fuck, but I guess I'm not. I don't know. I didn't really care for this film at all, really. And I think it's just the mindset I'm in, but I was really not into it. I don't know. I didn't have much to say about it. Don't have much to rate about it.
I'm gonna hit up Willem. I'm gonna tell Willem Dafoe on Twitter you said all this.
You tell him his performance was as bad as it was in Spider-Man.
What?
Ooh, that's
come
harsh,
on.
bro. Spider-Man fucking
Ooh.
sucked.
Exactly.
You gotta see his nutsack, bro.
Ooh.
You telling
Yeah, I
me
don't know if
Defoe's
I
dick
do. That's
could
not
do?
good.
You're telling me that Defoe's dick could do what it did in Antichrist in Spider-Man? No. The range it brought? No. Come on.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, there's nothing to work with there.
Yeah, it would have gone in Toby like I don't know.
So you really don't have a rating for it, like at all?
Yeah, I do have a rating for it.
Oh, you said you
All
don't
right.
have
I
a.
was
Oh, all
joking.
right. What is it?
It's part of the rhyme.
Oh, all right.
I give it 2 thrown wrenches under the house.
Damn. Fuck.
I think I could live with 2 thrown wrenches. It's not that
It
horrible.
looked good, but I was really not in the mood for some artsy garbage today.
Oh, come on. Chaos reigns with this guy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Chaos
Look.
ate the wrench under the house.
Look, I'm telling you. You got. Look,
I'm not talking about. I know we're not talking about past movies, but remember The Dark Backward?
That wasn't my pick.
No. I'm not saying that. But didn't you give it 2 too? Like, wouldn't I mean? I know this is outside of the collection, but
The Dark Backward.
are you gonna say that movie's on par with this movie?
I enjoyed it more than this film.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I gave the Dark
If anybody
Backward-
hasn't seen The Dark Backward that's listening to this, please go watch that and see how wrong Mondo is.
Don't worry.
The Dark
It'll be a
would
bonus
literally-
episode. You
I
guys
would
will get a
literally-
bonus episode on us
I
talking
would
about it.
rather watch Willem Dafoe's dick get mutilated
Oh,
than
yeah,
ever
all
watch
day.
The Dark Backward again
All day.
forever.
I don't care if I'm on the right side of history of this one. I'll tell you.
What are you talking about? It's on the Criterion Collection.
You don't have
You're
to.
crazy.
Yeah, you did. You can't argue that. You can't argue that, Mondo.
Can't
It
like
is on
all
the
their
collection.
films.
Lars Von Trier, homie.
Yeah.
Nazi sympathizer. Come on. Great guy.
On the right side of history, right here.
Listen, fuck him, but he's he's making some good shit, some good art.
Woody Allen.
Look, I love Antichrist. I literally have a tattoo of Antichrist because I love it so much. Would I recommend it to anyone? No, never. I would recommend it to people who I think would be down, like, I told Nacho about it. I only recommend it to people who I think are down for some shit like that, who are willing to experience some shit like that, because, it's much. It's a lot. For anyone listening to this, you're going to have to be down for, like, mutilation, like, just horrible shit. Just literally grief porn. It's literally grief porn. That's what I call it. It's literally depression in porn form. Like, you want to see grief, but in the most disgusting sexual way, watch Antichrist. And honestly, sometimes, that works for me. Sometimes that'll keep me up at night in the best way. And that's why I give Anticristo 4.5 boxes saying chaos reigns. The Willem Dafoe as he fucking backs up in slow motion. That's 4.5, homie.
That's the
It
highest
is-
we've gotten here.
But, that's just me on a visual standpoint.
Rating.
That's not me even really understanding what the movie is fully about, even though I do. I get it. It's about grief, it's about this, but I'm not going to be able to explain to you what every scene signifies or what, you know what I'm saying? But I still like that much. But I'll tell you one thing. I do get, and I do understand completely the next film we're talking about, which is Lars Von Trier's, whatever the fuck his Nazi-ass name is, Melancholia, which Nacho picked to select to be put into the Criterion Collection, which, I think it might eventually be. But Nacho, why do you think it should be?
Melancholia was accepted more than Antichrist.
For sure. Especially because it had Kristen Dunst in it. So it it kind of added, like, people knew who she was, so they would go see that movie because of it.
And there's no genital mutilation. Like, why
Yes.
why wouldn't you add it to the collection? Like, you don't have to see peepees getting smashed and but I don't even want to say that part because it was so gruesome. But you know what I'm saying? No, I don't know.
No, you're
I
right.
think
You are
Melancholia-
right.
I think
No
Melancholia was
clit snip, bro. No clit snip.
yeah, seriously.
Thank you,
Ugh.
Diego.
No. So like Mondo said earlier,
That's metal, bro.
there's similarities between the movie. Well, the theme. Von Trier, Von Trier, Von whatever his stupid name is. He wrote these movies again, while he was depressed. He did these movies. It's his unofficial depression trilogy. And it was just kind of, I don't know. Again, this movie is also visually sweet. He uses that same effects that he had in in Antichrist, you know, in the beginning. This is another movie. Didn't we watch a movie recently where they kind of explain, yes, Destroyer, where you're kind of seeing the result or the end of the movie before the whole movie starts, you know? So that he did that in the beginning of Melancholia as well. But seeing, you know, her go through, you know, those gardens in her wedding dress with the trees kind of pulling her trying to escape, and just everything super slow-mo. Seeing how there's two chapters in this movie, you know, being, what's their names? So Charlotte Gainsbourg. Charlotte Gainsbourg in this movie.
Justine's one of them.
Is Kirsten Dunst, and Charlotte Gainsbourg is Claire.
There you go, Claire.
Charlotte Gainsbourg being in a lot of the films. Well, she was in all the Depression films, actually. She was in Antichrist, she was in Melancholia, and she stars in Nymphomaniac.
That's right.
So the first chapter in Melancholia being Justine, and it kind of deals with a wedding, but also Justine's depression, and how can you say you just see her falling apart during the whole wedding. It just doesn't even work out. Like, there's little tidbits that are kind of funny, you know, like them going to this mansion, this massive mansion. I think they shot this movie in Sweden. The views there were pretty dope. It's really played. But yeah,
like that. I that's crazy to think that that's a house.
Yeah,
you know what
dude.
I'm saying? Like, that looks like a hotel. It doesn't look like a fucking house. Like, that's crazy.
No, well, it had its own golf course, and then like it had everything, I guess. But yeah, like, there's little tidbits. There's funny parts. Like, I mean, throughout the first chapter, one of my favorite parts, you know, they have the wedding planner, and the wedding planner's pissed off because everything's running late, right? Nothing's going as planned, which is typical of weddings. You know, nothing ever goes as planned. But he's so pissed at Kirsten Dunst that he's like, I don't even want to look at her.
I don't want to look
at her. He covers his face, and then you see, like, in later scenes, whenever he walks by her.
Yeah, every scene. Yeah.
He's covering his face. You know, so in the first chapter, you know, we see Justine deal with her depression, and Claire kind of being like the one who kind of tries to keep the family together and is her support. You see that maybe depression comes down, or I don't know too much about depression, but you see that they expose that her parents, like, at the wedding, you know, not exposed, but when they're doing their speeches, right? You see that the mom, like, she's
right. You see how fucked up both the parents are, like, right
they're
away.
Both fucked up, but more the mom, like, where she's like, I didn't go to the church. I don't believe in this wedding shit. And she's, like, just dressed in normal clothes, and then it's like, why are you even here? Which I like. What I liked a lot was, like, Kiefer Sutherland. Another funny part where, like, he's so fed up with her, he goes to her room, he grabs all his shit, and then throws it outside the mansion, only for his butler to just go and bring it back in. You know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Those little tidbits are funny. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you were just explaining why you liked it. I mean,
you know, just all that, you know, seeing that, and then also seeing chapter 2 where they deal with Claire and her hysteria. You know, what they show in this movie eventually, well, what you realize, or at the beginning of the film, is that you see, like, this planet collide with another planet. Well, what's going on is that they discover that there's this rogue planet, and they name it Melancholia. It's like hiding behind the sun. And at first, the scientists think that this planet is going to just fly by, just by a little bit, and that there's going to be no issues, right? But then all these conspiracy theories and people from other you know, are saying these things that, no, it's actually going to go head on, you know, what they call this dance of death. And there's this diagram showing that, yes, it's going to go around once, it's just going to fly back, but then eventually it's going to collide with it. So you see how they kind of cope and deal with this, like, the end of the world, you know? Again, you see Justine with her depression in the first chapter, you know, just kind of fall apart during her wedding. It doesn't even work out day of the wedding. And then the second chapter, you see Claire being the one that's able to keep everyone. And she's, again, taking care of her sister. But you see her kind of fall apart due to, you know, well, now the world's going to end, my son, all this. I think seeing how they cope with it and all that is pretty cool. And then, again, visually, just Von Trier, his style. I dug it. So that's
Yeah.
why I brought this.
Yeah, no, I mean, right off the bat, his style, just right, that, and the way this movie looks, it should just be in a museum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the scenes, especially at the beginning, it just looks fucking absolutely gorgeous. Her, and when she's like in the river or whatever, like the stream of water and all the like plants are around her. And like, you know, when like, it shows like slow motion Claire running with her son in the golf course and her feet are sinking in there. Like, and it's like slow motion, like all that shit is like absolutely beautiful. But like, yeah, like the reason I really like this movie is because it's literally about like depression. Like it's not like a, like for me, like what I saw that as is like the whole time, like the husband and everyone is kind of like, oh, like, yeah, it's going to pass. Like, it's going to pass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nothing's going to happen. And that, and, you know, the sister Claire is very, like, concerned about it, as she is concerned about her sister. Whereas nobody really takes her sister's depression seriously. Like, nobody really cares. Everyone's just kind of like, oh, that's just her being, you know, where she's like, really like, oh, are you okay? You know? Like,
Everyone's
to me, like, that's,
on, oh, you're beautiful. Like, you're this.
right.
That. Not
and
so
that's
much.
what like that's to me what like that was is like her, like the sister kind of knowing like, you know, the depression's not going to get better if we just ignore it. Like it has to be confronted, like, you know. And that's why Kirsten Dunst is like so like chill about it, because that's like her depression manifesting, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, it's like you know, she's obviously okay with the end of the world because she's depressed, but like to me, like when, I don't know, I just watched that and to me it was like Claire was the only one who was worried about that, the world ending or that thing colliding with the world. And to me that just represented Kristen Dunst's character, like her depression, you know, and dealing with that. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen
like
it's like a metaphor.
her depression, like personified into an object,
right.
Or like an
and
event.
What, you know, and most people, when you're depressed, it's like the end of the world for you. That's what your idea of depression is. When no matter what event type thing affects you, you feel like it's the end of the world. Like you feel like that affects everything, you know, especially depression just makes you feel like that. So I think like it was just really like a good kind of metaphor for depression and like how people really handle depression and how they don't really pay attention to it. It's like ignored, and they're really trying, you know, they're not like trying to like focus on it or really deal with it. They're trying to just let it, they hope that it just kind of goes by. You know what I mean? And so that's why I really like this movie, because to me it really focuses on that. It focuses on like a family falling apart because they can't deal with like a loved one's depression and her, the way she is, you know. She's getting married and she doesn't care. You know, there's so many great scenes of Kristen Dunst, like where she's like trying to pretend to smile and then she goes into like that face where she doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like she's like not around anybody, so she's just kind of like all, you know, her face just has like a whatever look on it. But when she has to be around people, she'll like smile and she'll like know what to say and know how to, you know what I mean? Like it's like a, I don't know, just like a great metaphor for that, where it's like, to me, I didn't see it as like the whole world was ending. It was like the end of the world for that family because they let this person that they love, they didn't get them help. They just sort of let them be that way and sort of just hope that it would go away, you know?
I kind of like how she, well, towards the end, towards the second chapter, like, not that she gets over it, but I think because no one paid attention or tried to help her enough, she eventually becomes numb and she doesn't give a shit anymore. And she just kind of like has nothing to lose and just doesn't give a shit about anything. She's just like, yeah, the world's going to end. The world's evil. Earth is evil. You know, it is what it is. So what? It's time to go.
That's another thing I liked about it too, because that's like, I mean, that's great logic. Like, why would you mourn for the earth? Well, why would you mourn for it? If, I mean, what would be the point? Everything here is terrible.
Too, I like that too, where it was saying like, where she was saying that like no one cares, like it doesn't matter, like it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, you know, like yeah, the earth doesn't care, like why should everyone else, you know, like it's like this weird like kind of nihilistic thinking, but I mean, it's kind of true, and like all that
But
chaos reigns, you know, like
it's also like very much for Antichrist. It's like it's not necessarily nihilistic thinking. It's literally just that's nature.
yeah,
Nature just sort of
it's
takes
like
its
one of those
course,
things.
and like there's no prejudice. It just sort of just you know what I mean. Like
right, like it's one of those things where like if something happens to you, the world isn't gonna stop. It's gonna keep going. You know, like you have to figure out exactly what you're gonna do. You know, like are you gonna stay stuck in that position or are you gonna fucking move up? But for some people, it's so tough to like want to come out of that. You know, like to want to progress and stuff like that. And I think in her depression, she just kind of gave up, especially because no one was helping her, you know? And you could see how she wanted to try, like her character wanted to try, like she wanted to talk to her dad, but her dad kept dodging her. And then like with her nephew towards the
same
end,
thing with her
she was
mom.
trying to like,
Mom.
yeah. And her mom was just basically like, let's go, like leave. Like, what are you doing here? Like, just leave.
Yeah.
Well, because, I mean, as much as her mom was, horrible, she was right. Like, she's just marrying that guy out of she's trying to be happy. She doesn't want to marry him. She doesn't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
she's forcing it. Yeah.
She really doesn't want that whole big wedding. You could obviously tell that, like she's just doing it because that's what,
her sister wanted.
Her sister, also her boss, you know what I mean? Like, it seemed like her boss was pretty like, like trying to like tell her what to do.
Work out of her on her wedding day, for Christ's sakes. You know?
Yeah.
That guy, his nephew or whatever, to go get a tagline for whatever advertisement.
Yeah. And so that's exactly what it is. It's like literally this person dealing with this very serious thing, which is depression, and all these people around you just have no idea who you are, really. Yep. You know what I mean? And what you're really feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly like how the Earth is. They have no idea who we are.
Right, exactly.
Like everyone's personally their Earth, and they don't care. They just care about, they only care about themselves. Everyone's self-interested. They just want to get what they need to get, and everyone else is just dealing with it,
Right, but at the same time, in the way that Kirsten Dunst's Earth, that depression can destroy people around that you love, and that's why it kills her sister and the son.
Yeah.
Because and the husband, because that depression really can like fuck you up and fuck people around, and that's why like that's why I really like enjoy this. It was just really a great visual metaphor for like depression, and for like that feeling of like, you don't know who you are or what you're doing, and you're, there's people around you that you think care, but maybe they don't. You know what I mean? Like it was like a good, I just visually showing that all the stuff they show at the beginning when it's her right away with the dead birds falling behind her, all that shit. Like it just, I don't know, it visually represents depression in like the best way.
Do you think like Charlotte Gainsbourg and her kid running through the golf course, it was at the 19th hole. Isn't that the last hole? Like the end?
Yeah.
That was all like the end. Yeah. That's what he was doing with that stupid scene.
No, for sure.
It wasn't a stupid scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does have a bunch of shit like that in his movies.
Yeah, like
it's
there's
pretty
a lot
obvious,
of metaphors.
Yeah, like obvious metaphors. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
was anyone else upset or at least pissed at Kiefer Sutherland's character for fucking
coward?
Yeah, fucking coward taking those pills after he told his wife like, "Oh, you don't need those pills."
Well, he's a rich guy, so obviously he's a coward. Most people who are wealthy are cowards. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't pissed. It was just more kind of like,
that's his character, he's gonna take care.
Yeah, I was more like he would.
Yeah, it was more like he would, and it was more like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I couldn't see him like hanging out till the end,
Yeah, like
hanging out until
he kept like when like she's like, oh, like it could hit us or whatever. You don't know what happened. It could have made a miscalculation, and then he tells her, yeah, this is that's happening there. Like it could be miscalculated and all that stuff, and he's just like, okay.
So, yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming until like Kirsten Dunst's character sees him bring all those provisions or whatever, and he's like, oh, this is just in case, and I was like, oh, this motherfucker's gonna take those pills.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, was this your guys' first time? Oh well, I know Mondo for
was
sure,
mine.
but
It was
yours
mine.
too, Diego.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is my
The
probably
best
third
joke in
time.
it was when Kristen Dunst says she's the only one that rides the horse. And then Keith Sutherland's all, that's not exactly true. As well, that was like a Wes Anderson joke kind of thing, you know?
It had some little funny parts in the movie that
I mean, honestly,
enjoyed.
from the movies that I've seen from Lars Von Trier, this is probably his comedy. It's a comedy.
Yeah, I think this is the only movie that has any humor in it. Like,
I mean, like, think about it. Like, that kind of premise where there's a boss who just tells some guy, I need you to get the tagline out of her no matter what. And then she ends up having sex with him on a golf course. Like, that's like that's like a Will Ferrell comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's something that would, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at some rich party. Like, there's like little things in here that are very like comedic. Even them just with the limo not being able to go up at
yeah,
the beginning.
Starts off.
You know?
Yeah, they're joking.
Yeah.
I'm like a farce,
Just,
you know?
just the dad with the two,
Like the
they're both
limo's
named,
too long to go down this
Betty and Betty.
yeah, Betty and Betty, you know, like that thing. Like, there's like a bunch of like little like comedy things that would just be like,
Yeah,
that
it's
I
like
could-
a nudge. Yeah.
or that I could just kind of see like,
And that's
you know, like
the-
you could see him in like a Will Ferrell movie or something, you know?
That's funny with the limo thing. Like, it's not treated like a comedy. It's like a comedy, like a trope, but it's not treated like a comedy because they're like,
Right.
they're walking up there all tired and everyone's just upset that they're late. I was like, well, the limo
Yeah.
was long, like, to go down
I
this-
mean, even the guy literally just doing that the whole time,
That's like my
covering
favorite
his
part.
face.
where he's walking through.
That's
the
like
dance floor.
that's like an Adam Sandler comedy thing.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
actor Udo Kier would be in the Adam Sandler movie doing that.
Yeah, doing
you know
that.
what I mean? Yeah. And that's why, like, that's another reason why I think like this is probably his best movie because it's the most accessible one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, he didn't need any fucking like crazy sex, crazy
No one's-
violence
yeah.
to like sell this shit. Like it's in my opinion, it's his masterpiece.
Yeah.
And like he didn't have any of that shit that people usually think of when they think of Lars Von Trier. I really enjoyed this. I think it's a good like depression movie. I think if you're depressed and you watch this, I don't think you will get more depressed. I think you'll kind of like sort of, I don't know, you'll just sort of see it in this sort of way, in that like metaphorical way where you're just like, oh shit, like, you know?
This movie I liked more as I watch it the second and third time. Like, I watched it after Antichrist. Me liking Antichrist a lot. This one was, I mean, it dealt with a similar theme, but was different, right?
They're very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
it deals with kind of,
and stuff like that, and the way it's laid out in the beginning, how it just starts off with
right, and also just has like that, like I said, that like
prologue. Sorry.
that whole like nature type thing, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like nature versus like your depression and your grief.
Yeah.
Like an Antichrist, you know, they're dealing with everything
Hey,
going on in
it's
the
still
woods.
saying nature's evil, right? Because nature ended up wiping them out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I don't know if it's
evil,
I don't know if
but-
that's I don't know if it's saying it's evil. I think it's saying that that's right. I think he's siding with nature. And that's why I
because
think if you
in
watch
Antichrist,
like,
I think they say nature's evil, right? Or like that it's Satan or something like that, right?
No, he's trying to figure out in Antichrist what she's scared of, and he crosses off nature and he crosses off Satan. When he nails it down, or basically themselves.
She hates wood.
no, what if you watch the director's cut, he nails it down to Paranormal Activity 4. She saw it and she was scared. All right, well that's
I'm gonna watch
all right.
Antichrist commentary because they have that on
Should-
fucking
We
Criterion.
have
but I
2.5
didn't get to
minutes
it.
left.
Wait, what?
Should we vote? Should we make our vote then?
Yeah, you want to do last thoughts on this, or you guys got more to say?
I think we're good if you guys just want
Yeah.
to vote.
Diego, what are you saying? What are you thinking? You letting it into the Criterion Collection?
Yeah, I really like this movie. Actually, I would watch it a couple more times. I would actually recommend this to other people just on the sole purpose that it is a more accessible Lars Von Trier film, and it's also like just a good fucking movie. Storyline, the metaphor throughout, like I said, his way of shooting certain shots is beautiful. I would probably recommend this before I would recommend Antichrist. But yeah, I'm letting it in. I liked it a lot.
Hell yeah. Diego has voted it in.
Yeah.
He says it's good to go. Now we're going to hear from Mandingo.
Yeah.
We're going to hear from Mondo. Mondo, what do you think? What would you allow this into the Criterion Collection?
I don't know. I honestly,
Oh,
I'm on the fence about it.
Mr. Fence, huh?
I would definitely have to see it again.
Oh,
I don't know if it was the mood I was in or just
oh.
or just, I don't know, maybe I'm just not a Lars Von Trier fan or whatever, but
Were you too happy watching this?
dude, no, I wasn't happy at all. I wasn't happy at all watching this.
So you just weren't into it at all? Nothing about it?
I really wasn't, honestly. Like, I thought I was dunce checked in, but dunce checks out. But yeah.
Your bathtub scene, you didn't like?
All right.
You didn't like that scene?
I don't know. I was
Nacho,
it was
right.
really too. I get what was going on, but it was just like way too slow for me. You know, that planet.
Wow.
Melancholia should have hit Earth a long time ago.
So,
It should have hit an hour 30.
what are you
earlier.
saying here? So you're saying you're not letting it in? You are letting it in?
I'm
Come
not
on,
letting
you got to
it
pick one. Oh, wow.
I'm taking a stance.
Oof.
We got ourselves a fucking melancholy. We got ourselves a melancholy, huh?
Yeah.
A Swedish
Well,
pop
good thing.
band.
Good thing it's 2 out of 3, right?
Speaking of 2 out of 3, you're donezo, homie. Your Earth has collided because I'm letting that shit in. That shit belongs in the Criterion Collection, and I'll tell you why. Here's why. Not only does it have amazing, beautiful art from Lars Von Trier, which looks like paintings. I mean, they're inspired by drawings and
It's
paintings
more
from
like
certain
paint by
artists.
numbers.
Oh, come on, get out of here. And then you got amazing, just amazing storytelling in terms of keeping that depression. You know what? This would have won the Palme d'Or in Cannes.
It would have.
But they gave it to the Tree of Life because Lars Von Trier is a Nazi.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason. It's not because the movie was bad. It's because he's a fucking Nazi. And you know what? He would get my Palme d'Or if he wasn't a Nazi either. But if you look at just stand back from this, right? All right, stand back. Maybe you don't like the movie. Maybe you don't like the theme. Maybe you don't like the slowness of it. But let's just look at what we got here, right? We got Kristen Dunst, who we've never seen her like this before. Maybe in the Virgin Suicides, but that was a long time ago. Since then, she's been doing some things that maybe Marie Antoinette kind of stretches her.
Actors in these films.
Exactly, and they're bringing their game. They're bringing solid game to this shit. Kirsten Dunst, right? So, to play depressed, you could do it in a lot of different ways. You could really go for it. You could make it loud. You can make it a thing. Oh, I'm depressed. She doesn't do that at all. It's like subtle. It's honestly beautiful in the way that she does it. It's great acting. You've got just these really good actors. Like you got John Hurt playing her dad. He does this kind of really great kind of like unhinged kind of like bohemian dad. You've got Charlotte Rampling, I believe her name is.
Rampling, yeah.
Yes. Charlotte Rampling, who is the mother, who's got this really like cold sort of like just great performance that really you don't need any more than what she gives you. And then you have Charlotte Gainsbourg, the sister, who gives this sort of really just this really beautiful sort of like manifestation of what it's like to deal with someone who's depressed and to panic and to not know how to deal with it, not know how to deal with it head on and just, and then you got Kiefer. I mean, you got Kiefer. Come on. We never seen Kiefer do anything. He was a lost boy. He's just been what he's been. And here he's subdued. He's not really out. He's just sort of like, he's more like held back, I think. Whereas like maybe if it wasn't a Von Trier movie, he might have tried to be something. Whereas here you get more of who he is as a character because he's sort of like, you get little shots of him sort of shaking his head and, just doing these little things while people are talking. And you just know that he's above all of them. He thinks, he's the rich guy or whatever. What I'm saying is that all these performances that are so just not even really, they're just sort of kind of there. They don't really blast throughout the whole film. It's mostly Kristen Dunst and Charlotte Gainsbourg who are the main people, and Kiefer Sutherland every now and then. But you still get these like performances that are like, you're never like, oh, why did Lars Von Trier get these actors for that? Like, you're just like, oh, he got these actors because he knows that they brought more, I hate to say this word, but they brought more gravitas to these small little roles. They brought more feeling, they brought more things, and they gave you a whole history of this family from that little wedding scene. And to me, if a director can do that with actors, that's brilliant, in my opinion. And to be able to just give us a whole history of this whole family without ever saying it or showing it, but giving us little hints of who they are, and then showing us this great kind of metaphor about depression, to me, that's genius. Because I've never seen a movie about depression like this. This belongs in the Criterion Channel. Mondo, you're wrong. And just like everybody else, you're going to find out that you're wrong as time goes by. Because yes, Von Trier's a Nazi. Yes, he's a piece of shit. Yes, he's a sensational. He loves sensational violence and sex. But this is not that, and you know that. And you're lying to yourself if you don't. Lars Von Trier. This is Lars Von Trier's masterpiece, and this is just this is a solid. This is solid. This is a solid film.
It's for sure his best movie.
This is like what I go. This is why I love art and indie film, because of shit like this.
So it's in.
It's
in then.
It's in there.
It's not unanimous, but it's in.
Well, see, the thing is, I feel like Criterion will probably put this in regardless. I think it's going to be in there pretty soon.
Who knows, though? Mondo could change his mind. He was on the fence about it, so
after that speech, I'm not letting anything in, dog.
Look, Diego Hagazuga is not getting in no matter how you can Mondo.
That closing argument had too much gravitas, and I didn't join the podcast to get like that.
Yeah, you see? You weren't ready for it.
Too Von Trier-ish.
He wasn't ready for it. Mr. Paris, Texas wasn't ready for it, and I brought it. And you know it's true. Melancholia, baby, 2020. Get it in the collection. It's going to happen. So read them and weep. Just know that anybody who's listening to this, if this continues to be a podcast for a long time, when that announcement happens that Melancholia is in the collection for real, because it's going to happen, we're going to have an episode where we just tell Mondo he's a fucking idiot.
He's wrong.
And we invite you if you're listening.
I was being nicer. Just that he's wrong.
We're going to take pictures of you in a wedding dress laying in a puddle of shit.
Melancholy lands on your house tonight.
Hey, if it gets me, it gets all of us. Remember, depression gets everyone who knows me. And that's what the moral of the story. And that's the moral of the story.
Kiefer.
Remember, don't let your baby fall out a window. And don't get depressed when you're trying to have a wedding.
Taking those cyanide pills before you can do that.
Yeah. Well, but before you do that, you should probably follow the Instagram account. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, once you follow the Instagram account, you might want to just start taking those pills and just because there's nothing on there. There's nothing to see.
We want to pray that Melancholia hits us.
No, but seriously, follow the Instagram account. Whoops. Criterion Cult. Criterion Cult Instagram account, not Room 666, which is my old YouTube channel. I'm a certified critic. You could catch me on
Letterboxd.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram. Pretty soon we'll be on Letterboxd. Are you guys ready for that? We're gonna do that. We're gonna open a Letterboxd account, and I'm gonna give us all the thing. We're all gonna be able to go there and just each of us are gonna be able to put our opinion about one movie.
Yeah. All right.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening.
Oh, they can't see that shit.
Thanks, Nacho. Thanks, Nacho, for bringing in the straight Nazi. Just
hey, man, I
I had to mix things up a little bit. I needed something a little extreme, you know.
I'm praising the Nazi depression porn. I'm praising it. I love it. I'm here for it. Not because I agree with Nazis. Fuck Nazis. But I'm saying, you know, he makes some pretty good movies.
I'm surprised Mondo hated it so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Mondo was in the mood for this. You should have watched it yesterday, Mondo. You shouldn't have watched it today. I guess you don't like Defoe's dick. And that's how we're going to end it. If you don't like Defoe's dick, send us an email. Let us know why. If you do, comment on our Instagram. Let us know why not.
He trimmed.
Oh, yeah.